Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome. I'm so pleased that you are able to join us here today. My name's Kylie Walker. I'm the CEO of the Australian Academy of Technological Sciences and Engineering. A little bit easier to say the acronym ATSE. So before we get underway, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands from which we are meeting each other today. I'm based here in Canberra on Ngunnawal country. And I want to acknowledge as well the traditional owners of the lands from wherever you are joining us from today. And as we come together to share our knowledge and our expertise, I also would like us to acknowledge the deep history of scientific and technological knowledge embedded in that continuous custodianship of country. And acknowledge the elders emerging and past and present, and welcome and thank you for joining us to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who join us here today. I do have a little bit of housekeeping before we get underway and we introduce our fantastic speakers for today. I'm really excited about today's conversation. So I do want to remind all attendees that you have agreed to abide by ATSE's Code of Conduct, and that includes as you enter your questions into the Q&A channel. The webinar is going to be recorded and the recording will be made available on ATSE's YouTube channel shortly after today's session. And we're very happy to send that link through to all registrants. The audience don't show up on the recording, so there's no concern there, but do be aware if you ask a question that the question and its answers will be recorded. Captions are enabled. If you would like to switch those on, they should pop up at the bottom of your screen. And as the session progresses, the feedback surveys will be shared in the chat. So please do take a moment to complete them. That's how we work out how to get better and make sure that this ongoing series of seminars is appropriate for you. I'm really keen that today is an interactive session, so please don't be shy. Pop your questions into the Q&A box. You can do that at any time through the conversation. You don't have to wait until we get to the Q&A bit. They'll be sitting there waiting, queued up, ready for us to go. But of course, you can continue to ask questions throughout the entire session. I will soon hand over to today's moderator and our brilliant panelists, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about me because we're here to talk about careers. And I have had an interesting and wild and varied career, but essentially what I've been doing for the last 20 years or so is being an advocate for science, technology and medicine. It has always been my passion to learn about the incredible work that's being done in innovation across Australia and globally. I was originally inspired by a love of science fiction when I was a kid, and it is an unending delight to work with learned fellows of our academy who are the leaders in applied science, technology and engineering across Australia, to learn about how some of those concepts, ideas, gadgets and technologies that were imagined in the science fiction work that I was reading as a kid are being brought to life every day and have in fact become part of our everyday lives already. So the people that we work with are the future shapers, and they have already had a huge impact on the way that you live, work and play, even if you're not aware. I hope you learn a little bit today about how that is happening too. This webinar series is brought to you by ATSE's National STEM Education Initiative. It's called Stellar. And Stellar is designed to engage young people in rich STEM learning at school by using hands-on curriculum-aligned resources that explore the principles of sustainable engineering, using things like wind turbines and sustainable housing kits and solar cars. We're bringing to life the concepts that you're learning in the National Science Curriculum and hopefully helping you feel a little bit empowered to pursue perhaps pursue careers one day in sustainable engineering and energy, or perhaps at least to understand how the work that you're doing in the classroom and the theory translates to the real world. We've got more than 280 lessons and 100 hands-on activities for classrooms. So please do go check them out if you haven't already got them in your school. You can find out by visiting stelr.org.au. Along with Stellar, we also create pathways for exciting careers in STEM through our Elevate Boosting Women in STEM Scholarships program and through our IMNIS initiative, which supports mentoring of postgraduates at universities with industry professionals. If you're in year 11 or year 12, it might be worth having a bit of a look at the Elevate Boosting Women in STEM initiative. Check it out on our website. We are providing around 500 scholarships for people, for women and non-binary people to study undergraduate and postgraduate degrees in STEM in the disciplines where we think Australia is going to need those people the most, and also where women and non-binary people are the least represented. So please do go check those out on our website. So, of course, we are celebrating World Teachers' Day today, and the theme today is Inspiring Minds, Celebrating Careers in Education for World Teachers' Day. And none of those exciting careers in STEM would be possible without exceptional teachers connecting students with their passion, with their curiosity, and with their potential. So we know that teachers play a pivotal role in shaping the future of our society, and we've got some amazing educators and beneficiaries of education to share their journey with you here today. So with that, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to our first speaker today. He's an ATSE fellow, and his name is Professor Brian Schmidt. And I'm pretty sure you probably will have heard of him already, because not only is Brian a path-breaking educator and communicator, an innovator and astronomer, he's also led our Australian National University, and of course he has won the Nobel Prize for Physics. He's elected to a range of different learned academies, not just ours. He has brokered and strengthened many international relationships for Australian research and development, and he has pioneered and funded important breakthroughs in a whole range of different areas based on his exceptional and world-class science. So, Brian, thank you so much for joining us here today and for taking part in this very special session. Over to you.
Well, thank you, Kylie, and welcome to everyone joining us today. I know we have students from around Australia and beyond. To those of you from Malaysia, welcome. We also are celebrating teachers, so we have teachers from across Australia and some other members of the community. Now, I am joining you from Ngunnawal Ngambri lands here at Mount Stromlo Observatory, just outside of Canberra, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. Astronomy is literally the oldest science we have, going back for 60,000 years here in Australia. And so for me, every time I do my work, I am building on the whole collective knowledge of humanity. And, you know, it is great that here in Australia, we have that longest run of culture anywhere on the planet. So today we are celebrating teachers. And teachers, educators are so important. Certainly for me, they inspire curiosity, they foster critical thinking, and ignite a passion for discovery in their students when they're able to do their job and do it well. They impart knowledge, but knowledge is just a little bit of it. They also serve as mentors, role models, and hopefully are able to help guide the next generation towards what their future is, towards rewarding careers in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and using that knowledge to make the world a better place. By equipping students with essential skills and encouraging thinking, innovative thinking, educators are ultimately the backbone of a country, of the workforce, and they are at the very bottom of the pyramid of what's necessary to drive advancements that benefit all of humanity. So I want to share just a little bit about my own career, and we have a slide that will come up. Thank you. So I've chosen 3 pictures, hopefully demonstrating different important parts of my life. So I grew up in the United States, as you can tell from my accent, in a very remote part in the states of Montana and Alaska. Now, most people will know where Alaska is, famous for being very cold. Montana is famous for being part of Yellowstone National Park, Glacier National Park. And so I grew up in the sticks, but I grew up loving math and science. So my love of math and science was cultivated by my parents, and it's just something that I always was interested in. I was good at it, but I wasn't crazy good at it. You know, I was just one of the better students of the year and always was enthusiastic about learning. And that's what I hope those of you wanting to study STEM will have that same curiosity and love for it. In the end, I decided to become an astronomer because I didn't know what else to do. Uh, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do for a career, but I knew that astronomy was something I had enjoyed for essentially my entire life. And while it didn't seem like it was going to be something particularly useful in itself, I knew there was only a couple thousand astronomers worldwide. I knew because I loved it, I'd be able to learn math that was really hard. I'd be able to do physics, computing, engineering, all these things that would be useful for me to do whatever it was I was going to do in life. And in that sense, I was bang on. I did astronomy because it helped me learn. And that's what STEM is all about. It's about learning the things that will enable you to do almost anything, whether it's dealing with technology or humans or, discovering things on the other side of the universe. So, as I said, I was a good but not the best ever student at university, and I ended up being a much better student at university than I was at high school. And so that was because I think I really focused on my work at university, where in high school I was very broad. I did advanced English, advanced history. I was in the orchestra. I did athletics. I did theater. And that's a great thing to do in high school, is to be very broad. And in university, you get a chance to focus in on the things you really love. So at university, I started doing research. I loved it. I loved the fact that I could work on something where people didn't know the answer, and I had to figure out what, the answer would be rather than just learning what other people had already done. And in the end, I applied around the world for graduate school, and to my surprise, got into most, but not all places I applied. And I chose in graduate school to work on projects, not that other people told me were interesting, but things I thought were interesting. And that was the most important thing I could do, being able to work on things I found interesting, because being motivated to work on things means you will do them well. Working on things you're not very interested in, it's hard to do them well. You'll do them okay, but it's hard to do them well. So that if I can give you one piece of advice, well, I'll give you a couple pieces of advice. One piece of advice is to work on things that you're interested in. In my case, I went out and wanted to know the future of the universe. I did not expect the universe to have anti-gravity spreading the universe out at faster than light can move through the universe. That was a surprise. And it's for that what I won the Nobel Prize, not because I knew what I was doing, precisely because I didn't know what I was doing and had to figure it out along the way. So that is my career in a nutshell. And I'd like now to introduce our next speaker, who's Veena Nair. Now, Veena is an experienced STEM educator with more than 20 years of teaching across 3 countries. She has a bachelor's in physics and education from Mumbai University and a master's in math education from Deakin University here in Australia. As one of the few female systems engineers teachers in Victoria, Veena actively promotes engineering as a career path for young women. She has introduced subjects like 3D printing, robotics, and systems engineering, and developed diverse electives in digital technology and textiles, leading to increased student interest in fields like programming, web design, and automation. Veena also initiated student participation in STEM competitions, such as higher student engagement, and she's been particularly good at this about bringing young women into STEM. So Veena co-founded the STEAM Club, which now has over 250 students, launched the STEAM Futures Conference to foster collaboration between schools, industry, and academia. And she serves on the Design and Technology Teachers Association Victoria, Science Talent Search Victoria, and advises on the Lunaria 1 project. Her efforts led to the recognition in Victoria of systems engineering as a bonus subject by all Victorian universities. And in 2022, Veena was awarded the Prime Minister's Prize for Excellence in Science Teaching in Secondary Schools. That is the highest award in the country. and I was involved and helped setting it up. So I can tell you, it's incredibly prestigious and just testament to all that Veena brings. So Veena, over to you.
Thank you so much, Brian, and welcome to everyone. And I too pay my respects to all Indigenous people here and past and present and emerging. Hi, everyone. So just like what Brian said, my career has been quite mixed. I grew up in Mumbai, in India, and my biggest influence too were my parents. My father was a physics professor, and my mother is a PhD in Sanskrit and Hindi. And so, right from very young age, I was inculcated into physics. But I didn't know about it, but my father just got me there. And we used to do a lot of tinkering. And many times these projects didn't work after we had opened them and put them back. But it taught me, it gave me the confidence to use tools. It gave me the spirit of curiosity. It gave me that it's okay to fail. And I too was not a very brilliant kid. I was very good at maths. I was good at science and physics. But, and I did take part in a lot of science competitions at school. I took part in a lot of dance competitions and theater. But I wouldn't call myself the most brilliant kid around in school. When I went to university, again in Mumbai, I did not do as well. And I was very disappointed. I wanted to get into an engineering course. But a couple of factors at home and the lack of funds at home. My parents were not super rich, and a lot of their money was gone into supporting my brother who has a disability. So I really did not get that opportunity, which I really wanted to go into engineering. So hence, I'm very passionate about girls going into engineering. But I did do a lot of other things in there, and I was part of the Army Cadet Corps, and I'd worked a lot of jobs and learned to develop my communication skills and basically learn anything and everything that I could get my hands on. After graduating from in BSc in physics, which I absolutely loved, I went, my first job was a medical rep. I went into sales, and then I decided to get into desktop publishing and learn on the job, and got an opportunity to work for grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, who was just setting it up. So lots of skills that I collected along the way, which have really gone and shaped my career over the years. And I then decided to start my own. I started my own business in India. I started putting computer systems in schools, started teaching desktop publishing, developing newsletters. And this computer systems that I started putting in schools and started to teach coding were really under schools. And that was a big thing for me, that if I have to do anything, it has to be a social enterprise. And from there on, I was actually told by the students there to go and complete my bachelor in education, because apparently I was doing a good job of teaching. And hence I went back into university, did my bachelor of education, and became the head of content for physics in school. And other technical, there was another startup that was happening for content development on internet, and that is where I became the head of physics at that point. Following that, we came to Australia. I worked a few jobs here, not anything great, but I was starting to look at how schools function here. And but then my husband got a job in UAE and we moved to UAE for a few years. There I got again, I kept on looking for opportunities. I was always looking at how can I improve myself? What can I learn? What can I do? So I went and applied for jobs in schools which have different curriculums. So I taught in British curriculums and American curriculums, and it was always physics and maths. And returned to Melbourne, and then eventually got into Viewbank College, where I was very grateful for the support that I got here to develop all these different units that Brian just mentioned. And all along the line, it has been that I wanted to support girls and in engineering. I wanted them to have the career and the opportunities that come with engineering. And hence, we started the STEAM Club. We started the STEAM Futures Conference. I realized that engineering is not given its due here in Victoria. And hence I reached out to a lot of universities to ask them to consider systems engineering as a bonus subject, which they all agreed, and I'm very grateful. So over the years, our girls who have taken up engineering it started when I started as 5, it has gone to almost 40 now. And that gives me great joy. So that has been in a very quick nutshell what my career has been at Viewbank College and also in other parts of the world.
All right. Thank you, Veena. And I think what you've seen for everyone is most careers take many twists and turns, and it's through persistence that you really end up getting where you want. So don't expect everything just to happen the first time. Keep working on the things you want to do. And I really appreciate you being prepared, Veena, to tell us about that amazing journey that you have done coming into Australia from abroad, but really making good on that passion that you had. So I'd now like to welcome our final speaker for today, Scott Sleep. He is a renowned STEM educator and innovator, and he currently serves as the STEM Enrichment Coordinator for the New South Wales Department of Education. He leads the STEM Industry Schools Partnership program, which connects schools with industry for hands-up STEM experiences, and founded the New South Wales Virtual STEM Academy, providing advanced learning opportunities for regional, rural, and remote students. And boy, I wished I would have had that, because I was definitely in that crowd of people. Scott's commitment to equity and excellence in STEM education also earned him the Prime Minister's Prize for Excellence in Secondary Science Teaching, and also a Winston Churchill Fellowship, where he collaborated with NASA and the National Science Foundation to advance STEM initiatives. His efforts have impacted over 200,000 students and 25,000 teachers through his professional development programs. In addition to his Department of Education role, Scott is a professor of practice in STEM at the University of Sydney and an honorary professor at the University of Newcastle, continuously fostering industry partnerships and enhancing educational outcomes for student populations from a whole set of diverse backgrounds. So, Scott, over to you.
Thanks, Brian. Absolute honor to be here today with this esteemed group. And what I want to talk about today specifically is STEM careers and how important they are. Unlike the panelists here, I've actually basically been a teacher for most of my life, or in education, nearly 30 years now. And I've been passionate about pushing STEM education and STEM careers. But one thing I want to talk to you today about is one of the best STEM careers that you can choose, the most rewarding one, and that is a STEM teacher. Through education, I've had a very, very productive career that's taken me to many, many different places around the world, and many, many opportunities within public education in particular. So in terms of my journey, unlike my esteemed colleagues, I wasn't great at mathematics, particularly at high school, but I was very interested, particularly in engineering. I grew up in a country town off a farm. I still live in a country area. I'm coming to you from Wanneroo land in the Hunter Valley today. And in my journey, I was actually disparaged and told that I wasn't sort of smart enough to become what I wanted to really become, which was an engineer at that time. And in fact, I worked really hard, this passion to get into engineering, and I actually improved my grades to the point where I was going to go up to the top class. But the head teacher at the time said, and judged me and said, it's not like you're going to go to university. It's not like you're going to sort of do anything in your life. So I didn't get to go up in my science class. But that drove a passion in me to want to achieve and want to prove myself, which I've continued to do throughout my life. In the slide, I talk about the idea of from Dungog to NASA. So I was very fortunate. I worked hard and I actually got into engineering, even though I was disparaged about it. But again, at that time, my family didn't believe I could complete an engineering degree. So I made a decision, which ended up being the best decision of my life, I've got to admit. I moved to education and became an engineering teacher. However, throughout my career, I still had in the back of my mind am I good enough? Am I smart enough? So I had the opportunity to actually go back to university, and I actually completed a doctorate in engineering, in pure engineering. And I still believe I'm the only person in Australia who has a PhD in engineering from a purely secondary education background. So it was about proving myself. But what I've done in my career is reflect on the impact that a teacher can have, either negative and positive. I was very fortunate I had a teacher that also encouraged me greatly. It was my science teacher that encouraged me to stay on in high school. So I was the first in my family to complete a HSC and the first to go to university. And I managed to work back in my community, and you see on the screen there, Maitland Grosman High School, which I taught at for 16 years. And a bit of a promo to Stella. You can see the Stella kits there. I use that extensively in my teaching. So throughout that teaching career, I did very well. And you'll see the photo there with the Prime Minister. Like Vina, I was rewarded for the work that I did in education. And I was very fortunate to be able to go back to university and complete a PhD. And that led to me traveling the world. So I presented in Prague, I presented in North America. I got to work on environmental issues, helping solve groundwater pollution. I helped develop programs that led to skilling up for the Joint Strike Fighter. So you see the Joint Strike Fighter plane there. Now, going further from that, I was able to work with great educators like Dr. Carl, who's at Sydney Uni, and I work closely with Eddie Wu, you can see in the photo there, and just driving that passion. But I also grew up in the Hunter Valley, where we have a big aero industry, and I got really interested in space and aerospace. And I was very fortunate to be able to apply for a Winston Churchill Fellowship. And about 18 months ago, I got to travel to North America under a Winston Churchill Fellowship. And I got behind the scenes VIP treatment at NASA and was able to walk into what's known as the VAB, the building you see there with a big flag. Every astronaut who's gone into space has walked through there and into that building. So there's a sense of history that came with that. I got to work with Lockheed Martin. I got to see every single space shuttle that's been produced. And I learnt a heap from our American colleagues, which I'm bringing back. One of like a career highlight for me is also a photo there you see with Caroline Kennedy. So I was invited to meet the head of NASA and the deputy head of NASA. And Caroline Kennedy, the daughter of JFK, if you're into space and you're into history, that was a big highlight. Also got invited to present and work at the White House. These are all opportunities that I've had because I'm a teacher and an educator. So education can take you all around the world. It can take you to and to be involved in a whole range of things. You're not necessarily just a classroom teacher. You have opportunities to innovate. I now work for State Office and provide programs all over Australia. I work with groups in Uganda, in China, in North America and the UK. I get to work with the son of Buzz Aldrin with an education program with Andy Thomas. So the opportunities that are available are enormous if you go into education. And if you've noticed in the media just recently, the starting wage for graduates in education in New South Wales is now one of the highest. Just before I finish, I just want to sort of call out, I mentioned about the Virtual STEM Academy, which is something I'm very passionate about, getting into rural education. But I was the co-founder of that program. So Ian Preston, who is a very good colleague of mine and someone that I've been mentoring, he developed the majority of that program. So one of the things that you also get to do is be a leader, and you can lead others into developing great innovations. So my pitch to you is education can take you to lots of different places, and consider teaching as an option, because it's the profession that's going to give the most impact in your life.
All right. Thank you, Scott. And thank you for your passion and that expertise you've developed for education. It certainly shines through in all that you've done. I was so happy with my teachers when I won the Nobel Prize. I went back up to Alaska, found all my teachers, flew them up, and I had a big dinner for them for all the good stuff they did. And so I do encourage all of our students on today, if you've got a great teacher, tell them that they're great. It is, a day to celebrate your teachers. I don't think even Kylie or Scott or Vina will know this, but I was considering going into teaching when it looked like my astronomy career was finishing up. And so that was what I was going to do. I still get to go and do some teaching here in Canberra at the local schools, and I really enjoy it. It is an absolutely outstanding career. So I'd like to remind everyone watching to post any questions you have in the Q&A down at the bottom of your screen so we can answer them. Any questions you do not get to today, well, we'll still be answering them and we'll send them to you. So keep them coming. And so I'd like now to bring Kylie back in to help lead our discussions. So Kylie, back to you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks also to Vina and Scott. They were just wonderful journeys to hear, and I think those common threads of passion and curiosity really shone through. And I love the fact that you don't have to be the super high achiever at school to be able to find a passion and curiosity-driven career in STEM that's also very fulfilling and very rewarding. You are, all three of you, major prize winners, and I think that's incredibly inspiring. We do have a couple of questions. And actually, Brian, I'm really pleased that you mentioned your love of teaching, because you do teach at university as well as the occasional spotlight at a school. And one of the questions that's come in is how to become a teacher at university.
So how to become a teacher at university? It's actually an interesting issue. Well, we take very, very seriously around the world the education of our high school teachers and primary teachers. Universities are now becoming more organized and helping teach our researchers to teach more appropriately. And so I take classes on how to teach now, but those are quite new. It used to be that teachers at university just taught, and we typically taught the way we were taught ourselves, and that wasn't always great. So this is a place where universities are changing. So if you went and became a university professor in whatever version of that, you will be taught a little differently than you would in becoming a teacher for high school, but about how to get ideas that are hard to sink in and be retained by students, and how to get them to think critically using all the information that they have at their disposal.
Thank you. Bina, I heard you say a number of times that you want to support girls to succeed in engineering. So I'm wondering if that might be a little bit of a clue to the question I'm about to ask you, which is if you could share with us what's the biggest single factor that has shaped your career?
The biggest single factor I would encourage everyone is to think out of the box, and think, how can I create impact? How can I innovate? And the innovation is possible in every single field, in every single day. You do something different. You learn, and you're constantly learning. And as Brian has said, as Scott has said, education offers you that opportunity to do that on a daily basis. And I would encourage all those students who are listening to consider that, and see, this world is changing so rapidly with new tech and innovations happening all around us. So how can you be part of that? What can you learn? And learning is no longer restricted to a school. There is learning everywhere. It's at your fingertips. So just be there, take that moment, learn and develop yourself, discover yourself, be an entrepreneur for yourself first.
I love that. And you know, I'm thinking about again those messages that you don't have to be the best to be able to follow your passion and your curiosity. I really enjoyed chemistry at high school, but I was definitely a straight C student. And I think that I know this because I went back just like you, Brian, and spoke to him. But my high school chemistry teacher I went and had a chat to after I started working in this job, and he was blown away that I was the CEO of an academy of science, technology, and engineering. You can never quite predict where your career is going to go, I think, and following your curiosity is going to be that golden thread. Scott, I guess that kind of brings me to my question for you, and that is, you know, we know that some of the jobs that the students who are on the seminar today are going to have don't even exist yet. So how do you get yourself ready for your future when you don't know where it might lead? Scott, you need to unmute your microphone.
Yeah, oh, geez, I'm the first one today to do that. Yeah, that's a great question. Look, the changing nature of work is immense. There are jobs that come and go. The one thing that I mentioned earlier, that I wasn't good in mathematics and science, that developed later in life. But growing up on a farm, I learned to be a good problem solver. And I went into digital technology early as well, which is so getting to that innovation area. So to me, you need to look at the type of skill sets that are that people are after, and problem solving is one of them. Creativity is a very highly sought after skill. These are the type of skills that it doesn't matter about the content or the area that you're in. So if you can become good at working in teams, you can become good at negotiating, and you can become good at being all round, then those skills are adaptable to nearly any profession that you can think of. So we call them the non-technical skill sets. And they are as important, if not more important, than the level of being an expert in your area. If you can have both of those, then that is awesome. But like, I'm getting on in life, and the one thing advice that I'd give is that when you finish school, you're never finished being schooled. And as teachers, knowledge is continually evolving. So how do we teach? We have to learn ourselves before we teach. So the best way you can learn is to actually teach someone. So if you're struggling with a piece of work and all that, work with your colleagues and work with your students to actually solve problems together or study together. That skill set will hold you in good stead in the future. Be adaptable, learn basically how to learn, and learn how you learn as well, which I had to find. I'm a hands-on learner. So I got good or much better at mathematics when it was applied to real world engineering tasks. And the mathematics that I learned was relevant to what I did, rather than when I was at school says, what am I learning this for? So be aware that hands-on, how you learn, and be adaptable and constantly just keep improving your knowledge.
Thank you, Scott. And I think that kind of also answers the other question that was in the Q&A chat around what does it take to be a STEM teacher. I've just got to put in another plug for Stella, because I think I saw a Stella fan, one of the desktop fans, in one of your photos that you shared. And also I just have to note that Andy Thomas, who is super cool, Australian astronaut, is also a fellow of our academy, which we're very proud of. I love this next question. And Brian, I think this one is for you. You've inspired us in year 3, Judith writes. We strive to be professors one day, and that makes my heart happy. Did you ever think that you would be where you are when you were in year 3? What did you think you were going to be?
So in year 3, I wanted to become a meteorologist because I loved the weather growing on rural places. And, in Montana and Alaska, the weather is not something you take lightly. It's a matter of life or death. So I became obsessed with the weather, and I'm still obsessed with the weather. I have all sorts of various devices on my property. And so I always knew I was going to do something to do with science because I just loved it so much. Did I think I was going to become a university professor? No, that wasn't really where I thought I would end up. And I certainly didn't think I would become an astronomer. And the idea of winning a Nobel Prize, well, I wasn't even something I dreamed about. That was just not something on the horizon. But life, as indicated, I think by Veena just said, you don't really know where you're going to end up. You just follow your passions. And one of the great things is life normally hands you a whole bunch of options. And many of them are great, right? If I had become a teacher, I would be happy and loving it. And I might even be here today talking to you as a teacher, and I'd still be happy because it's a great option. So you want to have a lot of options in life, not one option, lots of options. And, becoming a university professor obviously was an option for me, but it wasn't necessarily what I was thinking about when I was young.
Thank you. We're at a time now, and we do have to wrap up, but I'm going to ask you all to just share one more, in one sentence if you can, one more thought. And that thought is, if you were giving yourself advice, if you were giving your young self advice, maybe 10-year-old, maybe 12-year-old self, what would that one thing be? What would you tell your young self? Veena.
Honestly, I would tell my young self to believe in myself more.
Beautiful.
And
That's enough, Veena. I think that's beautiful. Brian, what about you?
Well, Veena kind of stole it, but I was going to say confidence in yourself to do great things by trying hard and doing the best you can. Have that
Yeah.
confidence.
Brilliant. And Scott, what's your final parting wisdom to your young self?
Working hard will get you where you need to be.
Terrific. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And thank you, presenters, for sharing your career journeys and your insights into your personal journeys in STEM. And look, the excellent questions as well. It's wonderful to get questions from across the range of levels of education that have joined us here today. If you've joined us from your classroom or from your office, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you've found something, some little nugget of wisdom at least, to take away and incorporate into your daily practice, your education, your learning, and your curiosity-driven journey. I really am excited about the enormous range of opportunities and careers that are available to people who are taking STEM career pathways over the next decade or so. It's just a very, very exciting time to be in these disciplines. And whether your career takes you into a career in teaching, whether you go into problem solving in a different field, or you start to invent things that we haven't even imagined yet, I think the opportunities are very exciting. There are more Shape Your Future sessions running this year, and we do try to focus on a range of different careers and ideas through these sessions. So please do look out for those. The next one coming up is in health and medicine in November. We hope to see you there for more exciting conversations with other spectacular STEM professionals who are working in that exciting field and changing the world in their own ways. As I mentioned, just before you duck off and enjoy the rest of your day, your feedback is really important. It helps us make sure that these sessions are relevant and exciting and can do the right thing for you. So please just take a couple of minutes to complete the short survey that's going to appear at the close of today's webinar. And with that, thank you so much, everybody. It's been wonderful. Have a great day, celebrate the teachers, and see you next time.